Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I just want to say a massive thank you for the feedback and love from the previous video. Today we're going to be talking about vengeance and how it's portrayed in Matt Reeves' The Batman, and how it affects the characters and how we can learn from their experiences from a biblical, physical and emotional point of view. Above all, this is a story about how children live in a world that has failed them. So let's get in the video. Born into wealth, Bruce Wayne, the only child to the billionaire couple Thomas and Martha Wayne, were Gotham's prestige royalty. However, things took a turn for the worst when Thomas and Martha Wayne were shot in an alleyway on their way back from a theatre performance. And as you can imagine, this left young Bruce Wayne terrified and traumatized, as the two people he loved sincerely were smited in cold blood. Fortunately for the billionaire orphan, the butler of Wayne Manor, Alfred Pennyworth, was essentially his surrogate father. He taught him character, strength, and his biggest asset as Batman, fighting. In other reiterations of the Caped Crusader, such as Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, Bruce was trained by the League of Shadows, an ancient and powerful group whose goal was to restore balance into the world via targeting corrupted regions of it. Their motive is really an eye for an eye, but I'm sure you know what Christ says about that. He says in Matthew 5 verse 38, "You have heard what is said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the left cheek also." This really means instead of seeking revenge, we should be just in our actions and display acts of stoicism. With this in mind, Batman upholds his moral code of not killing anybody. Well, back to Matt Reeves' The Batman. In this Batman, we see a more broken Bruce Wayne. He uses his pain and trauma to be his main motivator in this film. He's still the bereaved child of 20 years ago. His home? Gotham? In some people's eyes, it's a godforsaken city, where criminals run rampant and corruption from high pillars of society plagues citizens every single day. In the first act of the film, we see Bruce walking as the Drifter, trying to pick out criminals for targets. Gotham has sincerely felt Batman's presence in the 2 years he's been around. They fear he may be lurking in the darkness, waiting to punish them in the midst of their wrongdoings. In the train station scene, we see a gang trying to pressure a civilian, and Batman arrives at the right time and disarms them, and he proceeds to say the line,
"I'm vengeance."
Still scarred from his parents' tragic death, he keeps on recreating this event in his head because he believes that this is a personal mission. He believes that all criminals are the same and had a part to play in his beloved parents' death. One skill that Batman has that I feel everyone should learn from him is his ability to think outside the box when dealing with tough situations. His lateral thinking is out of this world. By definition, lateral thinking is solving problems by an indirect and a creative approach, typically viewing the problem in a new and unusual light. We see this when he's scouting for answers on the Riddler's first strike in the mayor's mansion.
Just trying to find the connection, Pete.
He lies still.
Excuse me? The riddle. What does a liar do when he's dead? He lies still.
Empathy is a massive part in filmmaking and storytelling as a whole. In this film, we see the mayor has just been killed in the most horrific of ways, and we see his child in agonizing pain. The Batman now sees the child and pauses, knowing fully well that was him once upon a time. Bruce, finishing his night as the Batman, starts to express his feelings via writing down how he thinks he's improving Gotham as a society. But he realizes that he's not making any progress. Crime stats are through the roof, and at this point, he's even contemplating if it's really worth saving. But he has that relentlessness to push. the power to endure. Quite frankly, it reminds me about Christ. He didn't really have to save the world, but because he believes in the promise and he has a plan for the people on the planet, he still does it in spite of the pain. But unlike Christ, in this moment, Bruce is trying to satisfy his personal needs by patching the wounds of his past, by putting on the cape and cowl every single night. In desperation to save Gotham's soul, Bruce is literally harming himself by doing this every single night. He himself has become a nocturnal beast. Director Matt Reeves even compares this version of the Caped Crusader to the rock star Kurt Cobain. This I don't care drug that fuels him each night is the coping mechanism. It makes him a recluse. No matter how much he even wants to convince himself that he's saving Gotham, which is true to an extent, ultimately the drug that Bruce is using is vengeance. This causes him to forget he's a Wayne and even abandons the family legacy. Remember how I spoke to you about the corruption of high status individuals who reside in Gotham? They are the main catalysts of this catastrophic explosion of crime that seems to infest Gotham. We see unethical acts of behavior from people you would never expect, such as the mayor, the police commissioner, and the DA, and many more people who put on a front and act as if they're trying to save society, but in hindsight, they're not. It not only affects themselves, but it damages the youth as they grow up in a broken world. That's how we're introduced to the character of Selina Kyle, another bereaved child that has suffered. Her story consists of growing up without a father figure, and her mother used to work in the club as a waitress. Selina's mother, Maria, would often take her into the club, as I'm assuming there was no childcare. Unfortunately, it would be at the club where her mother would be domestically killed. This would have a negative impact on young Selina, as it would cause her to fend for herself at a young age. From a psychological and spiritual point of view, this causes transgenerational trauma. The experiences of Maria Kyle, Selina's mother, are subsequently inherited to the daughter. For example, Selina now works at the same club her mother used to work at, just so she can put food on the table. This and many other acts of desperation just shows you how the system of Gotham has failed its youth. Even a peculiar relationship with cats makes her share personality traits with them, hence the line,
"You got a lot of cats."
Never think about strays.
She compares herself to a stray cat, implying that what she used to call home has now been destroyed and the streets of Gotham haven't been nice to her. As an individual character, she has her own story to tell. Her lack of upbringing shows us that she's been neglected like a stray cat all her life. The Gotham Renewal Fund, which Thomas and Martha Wayne set up as a charity 20 years ago, has plummeted to the ground due to the manipulating ways of high officials and high status individuals that are stealing the money in pursuit for more power and control over the city. In 1 Timothy 6 verse 10, it says, "For the love of money is the root of all evil." This just simply means that the lust that people have for money will eventually cause people to do acts of evil towards one another. These types of false promises that were advertised for this charity were all just lies in the eyes of the citizens of Gotham, and it caused them to lose hope in Gotham's promise. These lies lean more into Bruce Wayne's story and becomes really personal for him because now his mother and his father's name have been dragged into this. The problem at hand makes him question if his mother and father were really good people or they were corrupt and had a part to play in the perversion of Gotham. With that being said, the Riddler sheds some light on this case in this film. The terrorist makes his intentions known by telling Bruce Wayne that the sins of the father have now been passed down to the son. In Lamentations 5 verse 7, it says, "Our fathers have sinned and are no more, and we have borne their iniquities." Bruce 100% feels this way because he feels like he's taken all the punishment for his father's previous wrongdoings, and the transgenerational allegiances are now being passed onto him without no warning. With this experience crushing Bruce like a ton of bricks, Bruce seeks answers from Carmine Falcone, a longtime friend of Thomas Wayne. He knows that his father had dirty laundry that he kept from the world, but unfortunately the actions that he made in the past led up to him and his wife being killed. I've explained the origin stories of Bruce and Selina, but what about Riddler? Born Edward Nashton, or Nigma in other stories within the Batverse, Riddler's own life has been a riddle that he himself hasn't been able to fully crack. We have another bereaved child that was an orphan, and although his come-up is really vague, he explains to Batman how tough life is being an orphan. He even goes as far as saying,
Fingers. And every winter one of the babies die because it's so cold.
this really, in hindsight, just tells us that just like the cold in winter, life back then and now is relentless, and it's caused him to be hideously scarred. One certain character archetype that director Matt Reeves likes to use in his screenplays is the title of the false prophet, the character that claims to have all the answers, but really doesn't have all the answers. Eventually, Riddler did not have all the answers. He was able to expose the corruption, the faces behind it, and how it was done, but he wasn't really satisfied, due to him feeling invisible and having a lifetime of torment in his own personal abyss. He had to commit all these crimes for people to know his name and to be heard, but unfortunately in the long run, he lands into a padded cell in Arkham Asylum. As we can see now, Bruce, Selina, and Edward, or the Riddler, all come from broken homes and are all bereaved children in their own way. Bruce takes his pain out by being Batman. Selina becomes a grown woman at a young age due to her mother experiencing extreme amounts of domestic violence. And Edward grows up to be an invisible orphan who the world does not care about. They are all foils for one another, but yet they have suffered in the very early stages of their lives, and they have used their pain in different ways, some more ethical than others, but this example shows you that everyone has free will, and it's your choice what you use yours for. Remember, all three of them are broken children, and they have gone through different avenues of pain, but they have taken their pain in different ways. In the last act of this film, Batman finally realizes that vengeance is not the way, and he knows he has to restart in this path in saving Gotham and its promises. He throws away what he's so dependent on, and that is vengeance. He cuts ties with guilt, anger, unforgiveness, and above all, his pain. When he lands in the water, this symbolizes a baptismal effect on his whole aura as a figure in the city. All the things that were holding him back, stated above, has been washed away because it was a heavy burden on his heart, and he was willing to change, not just for himself, but for the city. He was born a new person the second he lifted his head out of that water. He ignites a flare, leading an exodus on the trapped people, symbolizing when one man is saved, it's his responsibility to save others. His whole character has changed. Before, the boy didn't even want to see him, let alone touching his hand. Due to his cleanse, people can tell he's more forgiving and more peaceful in the right situation. The water is now red due to the reflection of the flare. This symbolizes the Red Sea. This is Batman and Bruce Wayne leading an exodus on the people of Gotham, and being led into a better land sealed with a promise, providing them hope, and things can be better in the future if they rise in truth. In the end, the whole city has been flooded, and it shows the baptismal effect has been in motion for Gotham City, cleansing all its sin, greed, and corruption away for the meantime. Even in Batman's monologue, it says,
Vengeance won't change the past. Mine or anyone else's. I have to become more. People need hope. To know someone's out there for them. The city's angry. Scarred. Like me. Our scars can destroy us. Even after the physical wounds have healed. But if we survive them, they can transform us. They can give us the power to endure and the strength to fight.
Now, before we end this video, I want you to reflect on your life. If you're able, try and think of a time where you were at your lowest and the unimaginable happened. Just think. Now, Bruce Wayne wouldn't be Batman if his parents didn't die. He needed that tragic event to pursue his destiny. And most likely, if the tragic event in your life didn't happen, you wouldn't be the person you are today. Remember, God works in ways you cannot see. And even in the lowest moments, that's your story. It makes you you. He has a plan for you, not to hurt you, but to prosper you, says the book of Jeremiah. I just want to say a massive thank you to those that stayed till the end, and I hope you learned something new today. I also want to say a massive thank you to Matt Reeves, Michael Giacchino, Greg Fraser, James Chinland, Will Files, and the rest of the crew for creating such a brilliant story. All these creators have helped me become a better storyteller, composer, sound designer, and this film does really have a special place in my heart. All glory to Jesus Christ always. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.